Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're super excited to have you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Courtney, for having me on. My name is Kelly Desclos-Estes. I am a full-time state employee with the Commonwealth of Virginia. I work for the Department of Rehabilitation Services, and I have what we like to call a side hustle. I have been in the mood to write a little bit more than usual. 2020 seemed to be the year to do that. I wrote a children's book, and I also co-authored a women's inspirational Bible study. I've been writing all my life and just thought I'd take the plunge and got into self-publishing. Had a couple of friends of mine that were involved in that. So I told them about this idea I had for a story watching my cats play. We lived in a rural area at the time, and everything came in one of those great big huge boxes. And so the best thing to do when you have cats is to leave out the box, and it just turns into a play fest. So I was jotting down a couple of notes while I was watching them hunt and attack each other from the side of the box and running around and all that. Came up with this little story, shared it with my friends in my writers group, and they said, "Oh, that would be such a cute book." So I said, well, if it's a kid's book, I have to have an illustrator. So I was putting roadblocks in my way right then and there. Another friend of mine in the writers group said, "Hey, my niece is an art teacher at an elementary school." So we got hooked up, and her side hustle is pet portraits. So who better to do a book about cats than someone who does pet portraits? So long story short, February 2020 was the date of publishing. As we all know, the world went into shutdown in March 2020, and all of my school visits and everything just went south. So I've been trying to get back into the rhythm of getting the book out. I have gone through and I've redone the cover and done a little bit of renovation, I guess you could call it. I also have a hardback coming out. I didn't have a hardback before, so now I will have a hardback, a paperback, and an ebook. I just finished proofing the ebook last night, as a matter of fact.
That's awesome. I love that. I would love if you could dig in a little deeper about what your book's about, both of them, if you would like.
Okay. Well, it's the same book. It's just a different cover. So the inside is basically the same. As I mentioned, it's about my cats and watching them play with this big, huge box. It's written in the form of the if and then, the cause and effect, kind of like if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want a straw, he'll want a napkin. So this kind of follows that. The cat does certain things, and then there's the middle, and then you end up back at the start again. Excuse me. What inspired me to write this was my son. I had a son who died 10 years ago, and he was very much into animal care and animal rescue and things of that nature. So I decided that a portion of the sales from the books would actually go to an animal rescue organization. And the book is actually dedicated to him. There's a picture of him in there with our cat, James. His name was James. He named him James. So they're both in there, and they both lived till they were 14. And so that was the premise of the book. My son was also on the autism spectrum, and we spent quite a few summers with speech therapists and psychologists and a few other ologists. Came to find out that there were certain words, certain pieces of language that he had a hard time with, mostly related to directions. Next to something, under something, over top of something. Those type of prepositions, I think, is the English term for it. So when I was working with the illustrator for the book, I wanted to make sure that some of those aspects were included in the illustrations. So the illustrations are from different points of view. So you have a straight on view. You have a view as if you are the cat looking over outside of the box. You have a view of running down the hallway. There's a view of looking under the table. So all of that is incorporated into the illustration. So it's a full body work.
I love that. That's so inclusive.
Thank you.
Huh. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who the book's really for?
I was thinking it's for kids. I was thinking it's for teachers, maybe kids that are in special ed, people that work with kids on the spectrum, daycares, just it's designed for preschool. So it's in that preschool early reading stage. I used to work daycare, and I think that's when I fell in love with reading books out loud to kids, because it's fun. So that's the age level. Really anybody. I've had friends of mine who are just cat lovers that just bought the book just because I love cats. So the illustrations are beautiful. I didn't want it to look cartoony. I'm a big fan. My son was also a big fan of Jan Brett, who did the Gingerbread Baby, and I forget, there were a few other books that she did, and I just loved her illustration. So I had that in mind when I was working with the illustrator of how I wanted the look to be.
I love that. How long have you been writing?
Oh, since I was about 8 years old. I was a John boy. I would sit up in my room and I would write every night. I would do papers. I've done all kinds of, all through high school, all through college, even at work. I've helped with grants and curriculum and just a lot of different things. And that one piece that always bothered me was that I wasn't a published author. And I thought the only way I could be a published author was to be a Dave Baldacci or Patsy Cornwell or somebody like that. And I'm learning that they're 1% of those of us that are out there actually doing the writing. So I've gotten inspired by friends of mine who are independent authors and independent self-published authors. So I gave it a go. I didn't think I could do it. I honestly didn't. I was literally pulling my hair out Super Bowl Sunday, February 2020, because the formatting wasn't correct. But it's a test of perseverance. It's a test of endurance more than anything.
Love that. What's your schedule like when you're writing a book?
Oh, I wrote Cats with a Box in 20 minutes. It wrote itself. Like I said, I was watching the cats. I had the top, I had the bottom. All I had to do was the middle, and it didn't take any time. I have a second idea in mind. It's been stirring in my head. I have the text written out. Just got a hold of the illustrator again to see if she would be interested in doing the illustrations for that. And that will be Cats at the Window. So you can imagine how that's going to go.
Love that.
The text is done. I have a couple other ideas. It just depends. I've been working on a Bible study now for a long time, but writing is rewriting, and that's where I'm at. So as far as schedule goes, I don't have a quote unquote schedule. I do write every day. I write at least 30 minutes every day in the morning. During the week, I have set aside time one night a week for a couple hours to write. usually on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I'll devote a couple hours to working on something. I've had to do that just because it just gets away from me if I don't.
That's amazing. Do you have anything that you have to have in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Not really, because usually if I have my glass of water, I have my glass of lemonade or what have you, I'm good. But most of the time I get so focused and so tunnel vision that I'm just sitting there typing something, or I've got an idea, I'm looking up something, and I start at maybe 4:00 in the afternoon. Next thing I know, it's, oh, gee, the cats are meowing. It's time to feed them. Oh, it's 6:30. So it just happens that way sometimes.
I love that. What's your favorite writing drink or snack?
Oh, like I said, probably coffee, hot tea, or something cold, lemonade, or something, water. Or sometimes I have water and I put a little dab of lemonade in it just to sweeten it up a little. So yeah, just usually something to drink. I usually don't eat because my hands are going. And then I'm having to keep my orange kitty out of my lap because he likes to sit on my lap while I'm trying to type.
Love that. What type of books do you enjoy reading?
Oh, I like a lot of different types of books. I am a big Harry Potter fan. I have read J.K. Rowling. I've read a couple of the books at least twice, and you know how mammoth size they are. But her writing style is just such a page turner. You get so engaged, you just keep going, and next thing you know, you're on page 862 or something. I like reading classics. I recently purchased the full set of The Wizard of Oz. A lot of people don't realize that was the biggest selling children's book series before Harry Potter, was The Wizard of Oz. And there are, I think, 12 or 13 books in the series. So I said, I just wanted to read them. So I think I'm on book 4 or 5. And they're fast. I mean, they're, 100 pages. I mean, it's a quick read. I like to challenge myself. One year I did do a challenge where I had to read different types of books that I'm not used to reading. That was pretty interesting. I like that. I like nonfiction. I like history. I like historical information. Usually when we travel, I get a book based on wherever it is that we travel to. And it's usually about, the history of San Francisco or, something along those lines.
I love that. That's so fun. Are there any books or authors that really inspired you to become a writer?
Probably the first person that I identified with, and I think it's because we share the same birthday. It's a Diary of Anne Frank. I started reading it in 3rd or 4th grade and just kind of put it down, didn't really pay that much attention to it. When I was in 5th grade, we were reading it as a class as part of a history lesson. And the teacher would sometimes read parts of it aloud. So hearing it read aloud was a little bit different than having to sit and read for a class. So, and the fact that she was just a kid. She was just, 13, 14-year-old kid hiding up in an attic, mooning over Cary Grant and Clark Gable. So I was, and Laura Ingalls is another one that I enjoyed. So just, they were just ordinary people. There was nothing fancy. There was nothing they weren't high society, well-bred people. They were just regular people telling their story. And so
I really love that. That's amazing. What type of books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
When I was younger, I really liked mysteries. I liked Hardy Boys. I liked, some of those classic adventure books, Captain's Courageous and, Treasure Island and, places, books about places, other places. Dickens, I liked, for a young kid, I really liked Charles Dickens, which was kind of strange because a lot of people, a lot of 8-10-year-olds don't really like to read Charles Dickens. Not really big into poetry. I really didn't get into that until high school. A lot of people do. Those were the main things that I like to read.
Amazing. Now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that you read?
Ooh. I haven't read too many series. One that I have read I can only describe it as the Gone with the Wind sequels and prequels. I forget the name of the author. There was a book he wrote that was made into a miniseries called Scarlet. There was another one that was called Rhett Butler's People, which was fascinating. And there was another one that was about actually Mammy when she was a child and how she escaped with the family from Haiti when there was the uprising and how she was taken with Scarlett's grandparents from Haiti to Charleston or thereabouts. It was really interesting. It made me wonder how many times the guy had to watch the movie to get all the details.
That is interesting. I haven't heard of those ones. I'll have to look it up. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
Ooh. Read what you like. Yeah, keep it interesting. You got to read what you like, something that you're interested in. If you want to sit down and read War and Peace, if you're not really motivated, that's the pages are going to get thicker and thicker. You're just not going to. You're not going to finish it because you're not going to be committed. So find something that you like, and just stick with it. And even if you want to, go back and read something that you like to read when you were a kid. That book challenge that I mentioned earlier, one of the challenges was go back and read your favorite kid book from childhood. So I read Charlotte's Web again. So it doesn't matter if you're 10 or 45. It doesn't matter.
So true. So true. On the flip side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
Roll up your sleeves. It is not a race. It is as I said earlier, it is a real test in perseverance. It's a test of it's a test of stamina. What I learned was I can't do it by myself, and I shouldn't be expected to do it by myself. The reason that I wanted to redo the cover of my book is because it does look like I did it myself. I did it from KDP. I used their templates. I did what I could. It's a learning process. So if you start out, just like myself and a lot of other friends, the first books are kind of, and that's okay because the next one's going to be better. So it's step by step. It's, nobody comes out of the gate with, a bestseller. Even the bestsellers have had, 6 to 8 failures before they get that one big contract.
Progress over perfection.
And that's tough, because I can sit there. I like to edit, so I'll sit there and I'll go over stuff, and I overthink. Maybe if it would sound better if I did it this way, or what if I changed that? I was like, stop it. Don't touch it anymore. And it's good to have someone on your side who is not afraid to say that, to be that coach and be supportive, but at the same time say, quit, that's enough, leave it alone.
What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Oh, that I got pushed out of a very perfectly good helicopter. I was an Army ROTC, and one summer we had to go to camp. Everybody had to go to camp, and we went up in this helicopter and had this line and all this stuff hooked up to me. Next thing I know, I get shoved. So everybody says, "Oh, you went skydiving." It's like, no, I got pushed out of a perfectly good helicopter. And I didn't break my leg when I landed. So, yay.
Yay.
Which is, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, because I was scared to death. Closed my eyes, did the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi pull. And after the jerk, and you kind of feel like you're floating or flying, you don't realize how fast you're going until you see the ground. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. Then you got to remember, okay, how do you land?
Yeah.
It comes up pretty quickly. So it's, oh, yeah, do it.
Sounds like an experience.
Yeah. There was a group at work that wanted to go skydiving, and I said, nope. Been there, done that. And they're like, really? I said, yeah, I got shoved out of a perfectly good helicopter. I'm not doing that again.
It gave you a good story.
Yeah. Nothing else.
I love that. Was there anything additional you wanted to say or add today?
I just wanted to thank you again for the opportunity to do this podcast. This is only my second one.
That's amazing.
So I'm branching out. I think that's the other thing you were talking about, what I would say to someone who is looking to write a book. That writing the book is only a teeny part. It's all of the other stuff. It's the connecting and the networking and the getting your name out and all of that takes up most of the time.
So true. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for readers to find your book? And I know a lot of readers love signed copies. Is that an option? And also the best place they can connect with you?
Okay. I do have, I have a website, www.awriteperspective, and Write is spelled WRITE, writeperspectiveinc.com. You can also reach me on Facebook, on Instagram, and LinkedIn. I also have a YouTube channel, also called A Write Perspective. I've done video book reviews for other authors, and last summer I did a summer reading series. So I did some classic stories and did the video. I just flipped the pages, and people got to see the pages of the books. And I did it again this summer. Didn't get as far as I wanted to because COVID decided to take over my body. I'll get a few more done. I also have my email. I have a Gmail address, KDEE Writes, WRITES @Gmail. You can get in touch with me any and all of those ways. You mentioned signed copies. I do have a stack of books at home. So if you want to email me and if you want a signed copy, I'll be glad to send one to you. The book is also available on Amazon. You will have to put in my name because there are several box series about cats. So if you put in cats with a box, that's what's going to show up on the feed. So you have to put my name in to get the book.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. We'll be sure to drop links and the information you give for connecting in the show notes. That way it's easy for people to go ahead and connect there.
Great. Thank you.